What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Higurashi GO. This is episode 12, and with me as always I have
So,
Blue Spade.
there's nothing different about this episode compared to last week's episode. It more or less picks up what the main cast is trying to do is they banded everyone together. They go to the child welfare service, and of course Takano and Tomitake is also there too. So there's one interesting moment during that scene is like when Takano interacts with Rika. Like, you see Rika having this suspicious look in front of her, and for those that have watched Higurashi Kai, you will probably understand the reason. But I'm probably not gonna reveal too much at this point. But anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, so they once again go into the child welfare service, and once again things don't go out the way they planned because the child welfare is still stubborn as usual, like in the last episode. So once again they're gonna try to keep doing what they're doing, but then the next scene, like Mion and Keiichi go Mion, Keiichi, and the Shion go to the meeting where the village elders are meeting together to set up the festival.
Yeah, something I found interesting too is that we actually haven't seen the Watsunagashi festival happen yet, because in the other arcs the Watsunagashi festival probably happens in like the second episode or so, but we're already on like episode 4, and we still have yet to it still has yet to happen. I was a little bit confused because I was thinking, like, has it already happened? But I had to look it up. So the Watsunagashi festival always happens on June 19th. So we're if you paid attention in the beginning of the episode, you'll see the newspaper. It says where the date is June 17th.
Like literally the day before that.
Yeah.
So it's weird that they're having a meeting like a day before the festival starts. So.
They probably did this in the other arcs too, but it's just that we're actually seeing it in this one. One other thing too I should point out, and I'm not really sure if it's particularly relevant, but at the beginning of the episode we see like a basically desecrated like, I don't know what you call it, like a shrine to Oyashiro, and the people cleaning up the shrine say that they think it was the uncle Teppei Hojo who destroyed it. I guess like maybe we should at the moment take the scene at face value and assume that that's what happened, but I feel like this scene, I don't know, because I don't remember this from the original series, so I'm wondering if maybe this is something that might, for whatever reason, end up being important later. I don't know, but I guess it's worth pointing out just because it seemed like it was something new, and my theory is that maybe it wasn't the uncle, like maybe it was somebody else that did it. I just feel like it might not be as straightforward as we think it is, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like the rest of the episode, basically we see like Keiichi and all of his friends go to the meeting for the Watsunagashi festival, and this is actually the first time we see the mayor, Kimiyoshi. We actually haven't seen Kimiyoshi in the other arcs, but this is actually the first time we see him physically. And basically, we learned basically before anything really happens, like Kimiyoshi goes to speak to Mion, because when Keiichi introduces himself, Kimiyoshi doesn't really. He kind of like he doesn't seem to really like Keiichi for whatever reason. Like, it just kind of seems that way. And then he like takes Mion and tells her something, and then Mion comes back and says that there's something that like Keiichi needs to step away for a minute, and we find that Chie Sensei is outside the where they're holding the meeting, and I think she basically like says that they can't really push any further, like the village elders are against them like continuing their protest, so that they need to stop. But Keiichi basically tries to like basically says like, I understand where you're coming from, but I more or less like I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, just pretty much like is relentless in trying to convince like everyone else to help them out and helping Sadako out. So once again, he goes back into the meeting like pretty much like telling all the elders like all the stuff that happened. Like, I guess the reason like the elders are hesitant is because they already been through this whole like gathering up the whole townsfolk and for a common cause, because they already went through this with the whole dam incident.
And it's also because the government is giving them money, so they don't want to hurt the relationship they have with the government. So that's why they're reluctant to protest.
Yeah, and then there's also like supposedly this like bad blood between the elders and the Hojo family due to their part in the in the dam protest.
More specifically, the Sonozakis. As we learned, it's more so that the elder of the Sonozaki family, Oryo Sonozaki, really doesn't like the Hojos.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of history, between them that I'm not particularly familiar with, but
it's pretty much apparently just more or less because like the one of the members of the not the Sonozaki family, the Hojo family was against the dam protest, or they were a proponent of the dam construction. So basically they bear a grudge because of that.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like there's a lot to go through, and like in the history of that whole dam protest thing. But yeah, it's just but yeah. So Keiichi, like back in the meeting, Keiichi eventually just like relents and eventually he convinces the rest of the elders to help them out, and then the next place they eventually go to is of course meeting with Oryo herself.
Yeah, because the elders say that they would help, but they need to go through Oryo. They can't like do anything if she doesn't approve of it.
And of course like we do have like a tense meeting between Oryo and well, Keiichi in particular.
Yeah,
because
Keiichi literally threatens to murder her at one point. Like, I didn't think that would convince her. Like, I was just like, I don't know if that's what you want to say. Like, because I guess he's just trying to establish like how serious he is about it. But because also I found it funny how like right after he did that, he was like, but yeah, I'll bow to you after right after essentially threatening to murder you. It was kind of I don't know.
I mean, that is the most ballsy thing that he literally says to her, just because of how much power like this woman has, and like she can just literally just break his neck whenever.
Yeah, she is the head of the Yakuza family, so I mean, I don't know if he wants to be saying that.
I don't know, but somehow, some way, Keiichi just eventually convinces Oryo to help them.
I thought that was a little bit too convenient, to be honest. Like, she seemed very much against it, and then like we find later that she approved or she agreed.
I mean, maybe it's something that she sees in Keiichi that I don't know, like that she's taken a liking to in a way.
That might be the case because weird. We do find that apparently, I guess the mother takes a liking to him or something, or that she likes how assertive he is.
And like suggesting that that she like she might be good for I mean, she didn't really say it, but
she implies.
I think she has. Yeah, I think she implies that Keiichi might end up being a good husband to Mion or Shion in particular. Like I said, she doesn't specifically say it, but I think she's implying that that might be the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that was pretty much the end of the episode, and then the credits end up rolling, and then we have Keiichi talking to what was it?
Rika?
Rika, yeah, just talking. Well, Rika talking to Keiichi about like, having to do this to change, Sadako's fate,
Mhm.
and of course, like Keiichi asks, like, what makes her say that, and of course, Rika just says that it's a secret,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much the end of the episode afterwards, and then now we have at least one more episode of this, of this arc, or specifically this core. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we'll have to see what's going to happen. Like, I am pretty much expecting, something bad to happen by the end of this episode, because I know what happened, like, back in the original, arc from, the original series, but it's hard to say, because, like,
Do you think this is like
suspect
more or
that
less going to end the same way as the arc from this version of the arc from Higurashi Kai? Like, because
in terms of like what Keiichi, like, I have a feeling Keiichi might end up being successful in saving Sadako, but the overall, like, disaster that's about to happen will end up being the same regardless.
yeah, I mean, we also know that, of course, the Watanagashi Festival is around the corner too, and as we know, whenever the Watanagashi Festival happens, bad things are to follow. So I think it's pretty much inevitable. I just don't know, like, how, like, what could happen, honestly. I mean, because it seems like everything is pretty much going their way, but it's also pretty typical that in Higurashi sometimes, when good things happen, or at least when you think that they might be winning, something bad probably happens to turn that around. I just don't know what it could be, to be honest, though. I mean, I think the disaster would still happen. I just might be in a different way, maybe.
Okay. I'm gonna throw out a wild guess at what's gonna happen for next week.
Mhm.
Like, I have a feeling that Sadako is gonna end up snapping, and she's gonna kill her uncle herself.
I think that's a possibility too, because she's already kind of like she's already been traumatized by what her uncle did to her, so it's possible that she could snap and kill him or something.
Yeah, because in the original, Keiichi's the one who kills Teppei, but I have a feeling, like, like we saw, like, I think at the end of the other two arcs, like, the opposite ends up happening, like, from the original series. So this is just a wild guess on my part, but Sadako's gonna kill her uncle next week.
Yeah, it's possible. I just, like, everything's been going well for the past couple episodes. I think it's in the next one. It's definitely it's probably gonna there's probably gonna be some kind of twist. Especially since it's the last episode in this arc too. Something's gonna happen. I just kind of hope that we maybe get some kind of an explanation as to what really is going on with the series too, because we've been teased that and nothing has really come of it. So, and there's just been so many fan theories, but I almost also feel like they're going to mostly still leave us in the dark. Maybe we'll get something just to tease us, but we'll probably still ultimately just be left questioning what's really going on.
It's just like, we've noticed that parts of this arc in particular had some combination between the original series and Higurashi Kai as well. Based on, like, the scene, the particular scenes that they featured in this, in this episode and in the last episode. So, but yes, I mean, next week is technically going to be, supposedly that's going to be the last episode of this arc, but we don't know what's going to happen shortly afterwards. If I remember correctly, in the last, what happened after this arc in the original series, it switches perspectives to different characters afterwards.
I think the next arc is the time killing arc, in the original series at least, and that one actually focuses again on Rena, I believe. So, I mean, that is, of course, if the same arc, they're going to do the same arc as the first season, because this of course has been, like, the whole theme of each arc has been deception, like the Cotton deceiving chapter, the the demon deceiving whatever. So basically implying that there's deception or there's some kind of a twist or something.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting that all the titles of this episode are similar to the first season.
Yeah, it's like Damashi something, which I think they said means like deception, deceiving, something like that.
Yeah, but every single one of these title episodes always have deceiving at the end of them. So, I mean, there has to be a reason why it's they keep placing these the deceiving titles like after each chapter.
That's another thing I should point out too is like we have yet to see the deception part with this arc. I guess you could point out like in the past 2 arcs, we kind of might have seen the deception because at least with like the fan theories I've heard, like with the first one, it was that we thought that the first arc was the Onikakushi, which is the arc where Keiichi loses his mind, but instead it was the probably most likely the arc from Higurashi Kai, where it was Rena who went crazy, and then in the next arc, I guess you could say with that one, like it may have been Mion, it could have been Shion. We still don't really know, so I think that theme still applies. Here we still don't know yet, like what the quote-unquote deception really is. So we're kind of waiting to see what that's going to be. I'm guessing the next episode will actually show that, which is the twist, quote-unquote.
Yeah.
It could be like you said, though. It could be Sadako just going crazy and killing her uncle instead of Keiichi doing it.
I mean, yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, we won't know like if it's really going to happen, but that's just my wild guess for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say about this episode, though. To be honest, it's like I was a little bit disappointed just because it wasn't really a lot. It's just not really much happening. It's just more or less like kind of what I remember from Higurashi Kai. Not really much that I could notice that was really new, aside from maybe like the very beginning, because I don't remember that. So I wonder if that really is going to be relevant later. But aside from that, there really was nothing. It's pretty much what you've seen from Kai, but just kind of updated more or less.
I mean, like I said, it's like nothing else. It's pretty much more or less the same as like, as last week's episode. Yeah. I mean, I thought that something crazy would happen by the end of it, but I guess we'll have to wait again. Get some like I'm also suspicious of Oishi. Like just because of that last shot in that last episode, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I just feel like there's something going on. Like I don't know. I was kind of hoping we would get something else with that, but not really. Like Oishi just kind of showed up at the meeting and didn't really do anything. He just sat there and kind of encouraged Keiichi. There wasn't really anything particularly suspicious about it. Yeah, I mean, if we remember last week, he was just like, at the end of that episode, he was just like walking down like the walkway by himself. Wondering like what the hell was he? What was he?
Yeah, just the way the scene was set up, it made him look like he was up to something. So I don't know. Like I wonder if that was intentional or I'm not sure. I feel like with Ryokishi 7, it's like things that you wouldn't think are maybe intentional end up being intentional. So I don't know. I'm suspicious of Oishi, but I just don't know what he could be up to though. So I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe he is actually up to something. But I guess I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out in the last episode of this arc. I'm really hoping it's something different this time though, and not really as disappointing as the last episodes for the last 2 arcs have been. Like maybe we get some answers. Because that's the thing so far. I've just been really confused. Like I'm just like, what is happening? Why is this happening again? But I don't know if you have anything else to say about this episode.
Nah, I mean, we'll have to wait until like next week. I mean, it was an okay episode with some interesting scenes, like having the scene between Keiichi and Oreo, but I think that like everything else is just more or less the same as the stuff we saw last week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, they're not. There's not really anything else to say about it. So I guess until next Friday. We will see you all next time.